Welcome to Top Amazing Fact. Anyone can win the lottery, but some people need the money more than others. Imagine being homeless, at one of the lowest points of your life, living on the street, only to be blessed with a lottery win. That's the story of the people in this video. Whilst buying lottery tickets definitely isn't the best way to get rich, the story of these homeless people will make you glad they won. Number 10, Michael Engfors. Michael Engfors, a 61-year-old from Aspen, Colorado, faced some tough years. After losing his business and going through a divorce, he found himself homeless for 6 long years. But despite these hardships, Michael never let his spirit break. He was a familiar face at the local gas station, where Gabby Garcia, a clerk, would often see him. He was a regular lottery player, usually winning just $1 or $2, nothing big. Some might think there were better ways to spend his money, but Michael kept playing, holding on to hope. Then, one day, his persistence paid off in the most incredible way. Against all odds, 840,000 to 1, to be exact, Michael hit the jackpot. He won $500,000 on a $10 lottery ticket. That's $500,000. Imagine suddenly having that much money at your fingertips. So, what did Michael plan to do with his newfound fortune? While many people in his position might dream of building a big house or reviving a lost business, Michael's heart was set on something entirely different. His only wish was to find his daughter, whom he hadn't seen in over 20 years. For Michael, reconnecting with his long-lost daughter was worth more than any mansion or business venture could ever be. Number 9, Emily Reyes. Just off the well-known Route 66, you wouldn't expect to find a story of incredible luck, but that's exactly what happened to our next person. Emily Reyes, a Texan, had hit rock bottom. She became part of the growing homeless population in her hometown, struggling with addiction to drugs and alcohol. To support her habit, Emily turned to stealing, which eventually landed her in prison. After being released from the Amarillo jail, Emily decided it was time for a change. Despite having very little support, she made the brave decision to turn her life around. She checked herself into a women's homeless shelter and began the difficult journey to sobriety, tackling her addiction one craving at a time. 6 months into her recovery, while celebrating her hard-earned sobriety, Emily decided to buy a Texas 2-step lottery ticket. In a twist of fate, she matched all 4 numbers in the Thursday drawing and won $200,000. With this unexpected windfall, Emily planned to start fresh, building a new life for herself. But she didn't forget where she came from. She generously shared some of her winnings with the other women at the shelter, paying forward the kindness that had helped her rebuild her life. Number 8, Grant Freeman. By all odds, Grant Freeman shouldn't have been able to win the lottery. After all, there's no actual lottery in Nevada. A devoted gambler, Freeman went to Las Vegas with dreams of striking it rich along the Strip. But, like many before him, he lost everything and ended up living on the streets, scraping together spare change from tourists only to spend it all on slot machines the very same night. This destructive cycle couldn't last forever, and eventually, Freeman realized he needed to make a change. He decided to leave Las Vegas and hitchhike 40 miles to Nipton, California. Once there, with just a few pennies to his name, he spent $2 on 2 Mega Millions tickets. I bet the cashier had a good chuckle over that. But luck was on Freeman's side that day. Amazingly, both tickets were winners. The first one got him $8, but the second hit big, a whopping $180,000. Since then, Freeman has reportedly turned his life around and learned a valuable lesson about gambling. Still, he's known to buy a lottery ticket now and then, just for fun. Number 7, Victor Herrera. There's no denying that Miami, Florida, is known for its beauty, but it also has some of the most brutally hot summers. Victor Herrera knew this all too well when he became homeless after a divorce. Fortunately, he and his son were able to move in with his sister, but her small apartment was already cramped, and it didn't have any air conditioning. One particularly hot night, the heat was unbearable, and Herrera found himself unable to sleep. In search of some relief, he decided to walk down to the store to buy a bag of ice. But instead of ice, he left the store with a $5 lottery ticket. That ticket ended up defying the 15 million to 1 odds, winning Ferrari an incredible $250,000. That same night, Ferrari, his son, and his sister checked into a hotel and cranked the air conditioning on full blast. Since then, Ferrari has used his winnings to buy a real house for his son to grow up in, complete with air conditioning, of course. Number 6, Eric from Magic of Rahat. The next person on this list didn't officially win the lottery, but his story is just as heartwarming. A homeless man named Eric became an internet sensation after being featured on the popular YouTube channel, Magic of Rahat. In the video, Rahat decided to give Eric a taste of what it's like to win the lottery. He handed Eric a lottery ticket and secretly paid the clerk $1,000 to make it seem like Eric had hit the jackpot. When Eric learned he had won, he was overwhelmed with emotion, bursting into tears of relief and even offering to share his winnings with Rahat. Touched by Eric's kindness and generosity, viewers from around the world came together to help him out. The original goal was to raise $20,000 to give Eric a fresh start, but the response was overwhelming. They didn't just meet the goal, they more than doubled it, raising an incredible $44,000. Most of the money was used to rent and furnish a house for Eric, while the rest was placed in a monitored bank account to help him get back on his feet. Talk about a stroke of luck. Hats off to Rahat and the generous people of the internet for making a real difference in someone's life. Number 5, Steve Borick. Imagine getting the win of a lifetime. You buy a lottery ticket, just for fun. Not really expecting much. After all, how many people actually win more than $10? But then, imagine if you won $25,000. What would you do with that kind of money? Maybe buy a car or finally pay off those overdue bills? For Steve Borick, a homeless man, winning $25,000 seemed like a dream come true. But there was a big problem. He wasn't allowed to claim his prize. 2 years earlier, Steve had lost his ID, which was required to collect such a large sum. When he tried to get a new ID, he was told he needed a birth certificate or passport. The real catch-22? Both of those documents also required a form of ID to get them in the first place. For 5 long months, Steve struggled to navigate the system, hoping he'd have his winnings in hand by Christmas. Sadly, he missed that deadline. Thankfully, some amazing people at CBC News stepped in to help. They made calls and tracked down the right paperwork, finally getting Steve his birth certificate. Though Steve didn't get his money by Christmas, 8 months after his big win, he was finally able to collect his prize. It was a long wait, but in the end, Steve got the break he deserved. Number 4, Laszlo Andruszek. This person won one of the biggest amounts in this video, but what really earns him his spot is what he plans to do with the money. In 2013, Laszlo Andruszek was a recovering alcoholic, deeply in debt, and had been homeless for 7 years. He described his life as constantly trying to fix problems by creating new ones. Facing yet another year of homelessness, Laszlo made a choice most people would think was foolish. He stopped at a train station on his way to Budapest and spent his last few coins on a lottery ticket. He remembered choosing 6 numbers, but the cashier reminded him he needed to pick 7. So, without much thought, he said, "Just make it 24. He didn't think it mattered, but it did. Laszlo ended up winning a staggering 636 million forints, which is nearly $2.5 million in 2017. This win obviously changed his life forever. What's equally incredible is that his win wasn't even noticed until 2014, when he made a significant donation to the homeless shelter where he and his wife once lived. Laszlo was very careful with his newfound wealth. After paying off all his and his family's debts, this remarkable man decided to focus on helping others. He created a foundation for addicts and battered women, offering them a safe haven in a world that often overlooks them. His generosity and compassion have truly made a difference. Number 3, Crystal Nelson. Crystal Nelson had been living in a cramped truck with a friend for 5 months, delivering newspapers for the Daily Journal in Illinois. Then, in July 2017, she found out she had won $50,000 on a Powerball ticket. Despite this incredible stroke of luck, Crystal insisted that her life wouldn't change much. There were no plans for big spending or impulsive purchases for this remarkable woman. In fact, She wasn't even in a hurry to find a new apartment. Instead, she considered getting a new car and helping her brother in Arizona pay off his house. Think about that for a moment. Living in a car for 5 months with another person, and the first thing on your mind after winning the lottery is helping your family, not yourself. Crystal's selflessness truly sets her apart. She did mention that she might take a vacation to Arizona or Kentucky someday and that it would be nice to find somewhere more permanent than a parking lot to live. Even with her winnings, her thoughts remained focused on others and finding simple comforts. Number 2. Dennis Mahurin. Dennis had been homeless since 1978, nearly 25 years before he won $50,000 in the Michigan lottery in 2013. Did he use the money to buy a flat-screen TV, a shiny new truck, or even a house? Nope. Dennis bought himself a new tent. Many might have expected Dennis to use his winnings to turn his life around, but he felt his life was already together as it was. Instead, he chose to use the rest of the money to help others in his situation. Having experienced rock bottom himself, Dennis decided to pay it forward by sharing $100 each with nearly 500 other homeless people. While some critics argued that he should have focused on taking care of himself first, many would agree that Dennis is an extraordinary person with a generous heart. His actions show that he's one heck of a decent human being, using his good fortune to lift up those around him. Number 1. Emily Leach gives ticket to homeless man. This next story isn't exactly about someone so generous. In January 2011, Emily Leach hit the jackpot, winning a massive $1 million in Mountain View, California. She used this much-needed money to pay off a substantial medical debt, buy more lottery tickets, and spread some random acts of kindness. One such act was handing $100 to a homeless man standing behind her in line at the same gas station where she had purchased her winning ticket. During this exchange, Emily claims she accidentally handed the man one of her scratch-off tickets. A gesture of generosity that turned out to be far more significant than either of them could have imagined. When Emily later found out that the same homeless man had won $260,000 with that ticket, and was saying some of her luck had rubbed off on him, she was less than thrilled. In fact, she complained to the California Lottery Commission. Investigations into her claim only confirmed that Leach had indeed given the man the ticket. Video footage reportedly showed her handing out tickets to several people in the store. The Lottery Commission stated they couldn't comment on the ticket's ownership until it was claimed. But they did mention the odds. Winning the $1 million jackpot was 1 in 1.2 million, while winning the $260,000 prize was an even less likely 1 in 3.9 million. So, there you have it. What would you do if you won the jackpot? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and click that bell icon to stay updated. Thanks for watching.